Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, February 14th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 431 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is the exciting news out of Pennsylvania that state's medical marijuana industry will be fully up and running and open for business this week. The office of Governor Tom Wolf made the announcement yesterday. First to open up will be the Cresco Yeltra Cultivation Company in Butler, which will open its doors tomorrow, Thursday, February 15th, to be followed closely the next day by 2 dispensaries and then another 2 dispensaries by Saturday. Open Up Marijuana Industry News for more details on the dispensaries to open. This is great news and comes within 2 years of the state starting to work on implementing its medical marijuana program. In the grand scheme of things, that's a pretty short timeline to deliver a working and operational system. Kudos to everyone in Pennsylvania for taking things as far as they have. Colorado Republican Senator Cory Gardner is defending himself in the wake of criticisms hurled his way by U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who complained earlier this week about holds put on Department of Justice nominees by Senator Gardner after Sessions rescinded the Cole Memo, an Obama-era guidance document that gave a measure of protection to state legal cannabis. In response to comments by Sessions decrying the nomination holds, a spokesperson for Senator Gardner said, quote, Senator Gardner's holds on justice nominees remains in place as he and our staff continues to talk with the Department of Justice and discuss a path forward which recognizes Colorado's state's rights and ensures law enforcement has the authority and tools needed to protect our communities. Unquote. Our final top story of the day is closely related to our second, with Colorado Republican Senator Cory Gardner joining in with 17 of his fellow U.S. senators, including a number of other Republicans, in asking the Senate Appropriations Committee leadership in a letter sent Monday to include protections for state legal cannabis in spending bills set to be passed next month. Senator Gardner was joined by Colorado's other senator, Democrat Michael Bennet, in leading up their group of 18 senators. Click over to Tom Angel's piece on Marijuana Moment for the full list of letter signatories, as well as for the full text of the letter itself. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, the MJ Today Media Newsfeed email newsletter. Besides our 2 popular podcasts, our other main publication is the Newsfeed email newsletter, which goes out at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard every Monday through Friday morning, plus Saturdays for premium readers. We filter through hundreds of headlines early every morning and pick out the 50 or so relevant ones to your world, which we organize by location into the newsfeed. It's the quickest and easiest way to stay on top of all the latest developments in your neck of the woods, as well as any other location on your radar. Subscribe to the newsfeed email newsletter by opening up mjtodaymedia.com/newsfeed. That's mjtodaymedia.com/newsfeed. All right, time for the Blitz. Tom Angel picks up his second story of today's show with a piece about a couple of interesting and potentially impactful federal court cases underway this week. One of the cases involves the question of cannabis's Schedule I status, while the other involves the scope of the Drug Enforcement Administration's powers over CBD classification. Georgia Governor Nathan Deal is not a big fan of growing medical marijuana within his state. Georgia State Republican Representative Alan Peake is pushing a bill in the state legislature to allow for limited in-state medical marijuana cultivation, but Governor Deal said he wanted to see even more restrictions written into the legislation. We've talked about Representative Peake before on the show, as he's taken a leadership role within his state on the matter of medical marijuana, going as far as to actually distribute cannabis oil sourced from outside state lines to patients in need. We'll keep an eye on things as they develop in Georgia. The city of Detroit needs a little breather when it comes to medical marijuana and voted last night to impose a 180-day moratorium on processing and issuing new medical marijuana business licenses and permits. The city is dealing with 2 medical marijuana permitting ballot measures approved by voters last year and say they need some space to work things out. This is a dense and complicated issue in need of a deeper dive in. Jump over to the Detroit Free Press for more. Vermont Public Radio is a good story up about the raiding of the state's medical marijuana fund by state lawmakers in need of money for the general fund, which can be used for any purpose. Vermont lawmakers were hit with a $30 million budget shortfall last year and chose to take $300,000 of surplus funds from medical marijuana patients and dispensary fees to feed into the general fund. That's causing some friction in the state as medical marijuana activists rightly point out that those funds were not set up to cover budget shortfalls, but rather to be used exclusively for the medical marijuana program. This is another good one to read in full. With the Winter Olympics in full swing, Leafly wrote a well-timed story examining how cannabis plays into the drug testing program for Olympic-level athletes. The bad news is that marijuana is still banned for athletes, but the upside is that most standards for THC levels have been pushed upwards in recent years to levels where all but the most die-hard, all-day, everyday cannabis consumers are free from worry of drug test failures. In 2016, Florida voters overwhelmingly passed a ballot measure calling for the relaxation of medical marijuana laws, with 71.3% of voters checking in the affirmative box. Yet today, little progress has been made by state cannabis regulators to increase patient access. Marijuana.com is reporting that the bulk of the blame for the holdup can be dumped entirely on one person's shoulders, and that's Christian Bax, director of the Office of Medical Marijuana Use. Mr. Bax has been holding up cultivation licenses and in general acting like a plant from smarter approaches to marijuana. Thankfully, he has been the recipient of some negative attention from Florida state lawmakers for his bureaucratic incompetence, though no direction has been taken against him yet. This is another story we'll keep a close watch on. And finally for today, Kush Bottles just announced that it was taking a $6 million round of investment from Merida Capital Partners, which it will use to grow its product offerings, expand into new markets, and boost its distribution capabilities. Kush Bottles, which is based on the West Coast, plans to expand its reach further into East Coast markets. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, the MJ Today Media Newsfeed, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the lesser strength of the patron listeners yourself, click over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in, starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.